Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video and consider subscribing to my channel. Now, I'm going to be covering a little bit of a special world video, and that is going to be the MOA Guardian. Now, I'm actually going to give this MOA a special type of name, considering exactly what it's used for. MOA the Wall. Now, why am I going to call MOA the Wall? Because that is what 90% of the players use the MOA for. The second vessel that they can use in this place is generally the Phantasm. Now, the MOA Guardian is a special vessel because of one of the modules that you can fit to the ship. And that module is called a max shield field module. Now, that is added to this. Now, the shield field module on its own provides a field around your ship that allows it to generate a bubble where everybody's um, shields are linked together, and it reduces the damage that others take. It also heals up their shields at a faster rate. Now, here's everything that you need to know about its build. This weapon system, the weapon system favored is the railgun. So, as you can see, 25% railgun tracking speed is its bonus. Advanced defense upgrade gives it plus 4% resistance. So, if you have a level 5 advanced defense, you have plus 20% resistance. This is going to play an important part in the later part of this build, and you'll understand at that point. Moving on, it has an advanced cruiser command bonus for 5% railgun damage and minus 7.5% railgun capacitor need. Now, its overall defense is very low off the base mark, but once you have fitted it out correctly with the right fittings, it becomes a really, really tanky ship in terms of its actual shield and defense. Now, just going into the ship itself, as you can see, it is built for shields. I'm not really going to go through all of the details on the ship in too much of detail because it very much follows the same basic principle of maximum research gives you the best results. And if you don't have maximum research, the simple answer is open the pilot services and buy Plex. So that's how you make sure that your services are at the max. Now, it only houses 3 weapons. If I'm correct, it has 4 mid slots, sorry, and 5 low slots. Let me just double check everything. No, so it's 3 high slots, 2 mid slots, 5 low slots, and a 3 by 3 for your rigs. Now, I will tell you exactly which rigs I would use on the ship, and you can tell me whether you would change things any differently. This is one of the special times where I actually encourage taking on the negative. Now, you will see why exactly when I say taking on the negative. Okay, let's start off with the rigs on the ship. So we'll start off with the defensive rigs that you're going to fit it up with. Considering that T8 launches in a number of days from now for some players, that means that T3 rigs will be available, and you could get players in your corp to manufacture it for you if they have reached the level on the day of T8. Now, T8 being 7 days away for some players, other players are 28 days, such as myself, and other players are even further away, being a few months at the minimum. Now, considering what you're going to put on this, I'm not going to say that this is the best idea. No, sorry, this isn't the one that I wanted. Core defense charge that gives you shield booster amount bonus 25%. You will fit 2 of these rigs to your ship. Now, why 2? When you put 2 on, the second one takes on a penalty that reduces the amount of shield you gain. And last thing is you're going to put on the defense capacitor. This will reduce the amount of need from your capacitor. Now, double shield boosters have been used by some players, but this isn't a double shield booster. This is just boosting up your shield a massive amount straight up the moment the fight starts. So it's giving you this massive amount of shield to continue with as you play. Now, I'm not going to go to the low slot first on the ship. I'm actually going to go to the mid slot. Now, I'm not really worried about the capacitor and the power grid because you can always balance it out by changing up weapons. So let's talk about it. You just need one drone, whichever medium drone you want, but I would obviously always suggest a Vesper or Infiltrator so that you can get the edge on other players. Now moving down, you get the Shield Field modules, and this is where your expense starts. Now you're not going to use a small, you are going to use the medium. Its C-type price is listed at 18 million. Let's double check the market. Not available. So that's going to be a MK7, and the MK7 is exactly 2.5 million. Now, one thing to note about this module that I have learned since the first time I mentioned it is the fact that it consumes fuel. Now, I have recently learned about fuel because of the fact that I was trying to acquire some for station deployment and station running. Yes, that means that I do possibly have a station out there. If you do know where it is, have a go at it. But this is how it goes. So the signature radius is 500%. It only consumes 1 megawatt. Now, considering that it takes out your signature radius, means that you're going to attract fire much more inside that bubble. However, it has other advantages to it. If you look at shield resistance, it adds 47%. Wait, there is another one for sale. I know that for a fact because I have seen a better one of these modules that I myself have stolen. Not stolen, sold. Yeah, 52%. I'm sorry about this. I'm just double checking because there is one of these modules that has quite a high power on it, and I'm just gonna go with the aspect of this. Okay, so let's say that it does increase your signature radius by 500%. It has an activation time of 20 seconds, reactivation delay of 10 seconds. It has a radius of 15 kilometers, and it increases your resistance when activated by 52%. And it has a fuel consumption of 400 gigajoules. Now, altogether, what the shield is doing is it's actually pushing out a bubble around your fleet, and it is linking the shields together. It's making their damage go through the Moa Guardian, where it can recover it because it comes through at a reduced amount. Now, if the ship takes a massive amount of damage, it is reduced as it goes into the Moa. And if you have smaller ships in your Moa's bubble, it means it can take damage a lot faster. But the bigger ships with the more tanky shields relate less damage over to the Moa. It's generally because of the tankiness that those ships have in them with the natural resistances that they have from your research. Now, considering that this is 52% plus the 20% that you are adding from your roll bonus, that takes it all the way up to 72%. And it's going to be important for you to incorporate it into the next part of where we're going with this whole build. Now, this is what you're going to use for your mid slot. It is the number one in your mid slot. Your second mid slot item doesn't really have any preference. I'd suggest the target painter so that your allies can hit another enemy a lot faster and so that you can do the same. Now, let's go to your weapons. As I said, you can always swap out weapons. Your railguns, you're going to want to keep it ranged on this. So, no snub nose for you if you are running this weapon, because you don't want enemies in your shield. And here we go. Sorry about that, I hit the button. Okay, as you can see, it is a really hefty weapon in terms of power grid consumption, and I'm not really worried about the Moa Guardian's weapons. You could always swap this out for medium missiles, much lower on power consumption, easier to fit onto the ship, and they don't eat from your base capacitor. It may not be roll bonus with the ship, but it can work, and that is one of the best advantages of missiles. Okay, so as I said, your second slot in your mid is just going to be a target painter. Your drone is just going to be a Vesper. Now, why a target painter? Because a target painter allows you to deal more damage, and it allows you to increase the range in which you can fire. Now let's move on to the low slots. Now this is where things get very complicated. Generally, your shield doesn't do speed tanking, so you're not going to move around very fast to reduce damage because you're going to keep an entire fleet with you. So, what do you do to keep this shield up and keep it hardened for as long as possible? The first thing you're going to do is add the highest possible level shield hardener. That's going to be a C-type adaptive, and as you can see, the consumption and the overall power, it's very low. However, its cost in terms of actual purchase is very high, over 100 million generally. As you can see right now, it's sitting at 165 million. So that is the first thing that you can put on. Now after this comes the next two options. You can put on shield extenders, and if you are going to put on shield extenders, I would suggest just one due to their heavy consumption of power on the grid. And the last thing that you're going to do is put on a double medium shield booster. Now normally I am not one to go for the negative effect, but doubling it is actually going, also it doesn't have a penalty. So doubling it on the cruiser is going to consume a considerable amount of power, but it's going to push you up a lot in terms of actual output. I think I've gone down a little bit. No, I'm actually at the right one. So yeah, you're going to double the shield booster. The reason is all damage incoming to you needs to be off-put as fast as possible. And with double shield booster, one shield hardener, and one shield extender, you're only up 4 units. And the last thing that you can do to ensure yourself the highest level of survivability is add in, sorry about that, it's just a little bit hard on the voice. The last thing you can add in is a battery. So why a battery? That is to keep this vessel kept stable. Now cap batteries aren't really super expensive and they're quite easy to acquire on the market, as you can see. Now when you are running the cap battery, it allows you to keep your ship from draining out completely. 10 million for a cap battery doesn't seem really high considering the amount of bonus it can give you. It can give you 20 sec. Wait, let me just open the roll bonuses on it to show you. It can give you 25 seconds of activation time. That's enough time for you to get up your shield from almost zero to about halfway up. Because with the amount of power that it gives you on activation, you can activate first of all your shield extender to give you some leeway on taking on damage. Then you can activate both your shield boosters to give you double the recovery, making your shield really tanky, at which point you will reach somewhere near 50%. And you also have the roll bonus from your rigs to give you even more shield recovery. And while you are in combat and using fuel, which is generally going to be your mined planetary resources, you actually use certain planetary resources for power fuel, and they will give you the output that you want on their shields. Now getting something that is perfect to your consumption is the best idea. 400 gigajoules per shield means if an item does 400 gigajoules per item, it'll be the best for you to use. Or if you can get as close to the perfect 400 with those items, those are the perfect items for you to use in terms of usage, and it will allow you to carry on with your shield without it really impacting you too heavily in terms of power. If you have an item which gives off 500 gigajoules at a time, you will lose that 100 gigajoules each time you activate and burn off the material. So that is one of the warnings that I am giving you when using the shield field module. Now moving on with everything else in this entire aspect is how to play the ship. The ship is played in a stationary role in a midst of a fleet. In other words, everybody gathers around it and you use it as your attack point. Now you focus on the ship and stay as close as possible so that you don't stagger or sit on the further ends. Players do tend to do it a lot, however, and that is because they want to get quick kills on enemies outside the field. Now, one of the reasons why you don't do this is players can webify and pull you out of the field and attack you and kill you. Or they can use you on the edge of the field to make their station point to hit the shield the hardest. So if they all gang up on one player and destroy the player, it directly relates into the MOA Guardian. And the more players that link up, the better the defense. Now, remember I said that there was a reason why the 20% was so important? With the addition of the 36.95 from the hardener and the 70% that you've already got from all your bonuses, you actually are at 100% resistance. And it's not exactly 100% resistance, but the damage that comes in is in minute quantities. Hardly any ships actually break this. I believe that a higher tier ship should be able to break through it quite fast and put in quite a bit of damage. Example was how I said how to defeat the Phantasm, where you could put on 1% damage with each hit against a frigate. Now, if you do something similar, the MOA Guardian takes a little bit more damage, so it will relate to like something like 2 to 6% depending on the player and their skills. So that's about it for this video. I'm going to thank you all for watching and have a good day.